Welcome to Cinematic Recaps. This movie is called Apocalypse Now. The film is about the worn-out and fatigued U.S. Army Captain Benjamin L. Willard, who was sent on a harrowing and surreal mission into the deepest parts of the jungle during the height of the Vietnam War, with the objective of eliminating the rogue Walter Kurtz, a Green Beret officer who has completely lost his sanity. But Willard soon realizes that the closer he gets to his target, the more he sees himself in him. Sit back and enjoy to see what happens. The story begins in late 1969 in Saigon, South Vietnam. Benjamin L. Willard, a U.S. Army captain and special operations veteran, has returned to Saigon for another combat tour during the Vietnam War, casually revealing that he is unable to rejoin society in the United States and that his wife has broken up. He binges drinks, chain smokes, and hallucinates alone in his room, becoming agitated and harming himself when he breaks a large mirror. Two military policemen arrive at Willard's Saigon apartment one day and, after cleaning him up, accompany him to an officer's trailer, where military intelligence officers Lieutenant General R. Corman and Colonel Lucas approach him with a top-secret assignment to follow the Nung River into the remote jungle, find rogue Special Forces Colonel Walter E. Kurtz, and terminate his command with extreme prejudice. Kurtz appears to have gone wild and now controls his own Montagnard forces within neutral Cambodia. They play a recording of Kurtz's voice, recorded by Army intelligence, in which Kurtz rambles about the war's devastation and a snail crawling on the tip of a straight razor. Willard is brought to Cam Ranh Bay by helicopter and joins a Navy PBR commanded by Chief Phillips and crewman Lance, Chef, and Mr. Clean. Willard describes the squad as largely young soldiers. Clean is only 17 years old and from the South Bronx. Lance is a famous surfer from California, and Chef is a New Orleans chef. The chief is an experienced sailor who recounts bringing another special operations guy into the Vietnam woods on a similar mission and learning that the man committed suicide. Willard's voiceover adds that hearing Kurtz's voice prompted a curiosity with Kurtz himself as they go down the coast to the mouth of the Nung River. They meet reckless Lieutenant Colonel Bill Kilgore, leader of an attack helicopter squadron, the infamous 1st of the 9th Air Cavalry, who scoffs at them at first. Kilgore befriends Lance, both of whom are keen surfers, and agrees to accompany them to the Viet Cong-infested coastal mouth of the Nung River due to the excellent surfing opportunities. The next morning, Kilgore conducts a savage helicopter assault on the Viet Cong town, taking the beach and ordering others to surf it amid enemy artillery fire. While Kilgore gets nostalgic about a prior strike, Willard gathers his men at the PBR, which is brought by helicopter, and begins the voyage upriver. During the story's main journey, Willard digs deeper into the Kurtz file, discovering that he was a model officer and potential future general. Back in 1964, after returning from a tour of duty in South Vietnam, the 38-year-old Kurtz turned down the promotion, applied 3 times for airborne school and sending a classified report to his superiors about the war. Kurtz returned to South Vietnam in 1966 as a member of the Special Forces for another combat tour, where his fighting skills earned wins against the enemy Viet Cong and North Vietnamese, but also drew criticism from his superior officials. By the late summer of 1968, Kurtz's combat patrols were being ambushed on a regular basis, which concluded in November 1968 when Kurtz ordered his men to summarily execute 4 high-ranking South Vietnamese intelligence officials whom he suspected of being Viet Cong double agents. Despite the fact that the 4 slain Vietnamese were discovered to be double agents, the U.S. Army charged Kurtz with murder for taking matters into his own hands rather than following proper procedures, resulting in Kurtz and his Special Forces/South Vietnamese Army escaping into Cambodia. Willard walks into the jungle with Chef one evening to harvest mangoes when they come across a tiger. They both make it back to the boat safely and continue on their journey. Willard sees the tiger encounter in Chef's near-hysterical fright as a strong lesson to never leave the boat. Another evening or so later, the group attends a Supply Depot USO entertainment starring Playboy Playmates, which goes wrong when the troops attempt to assault the Playmates, bringing the RNR to a close. Later, the group searches a civilian sampan for weapons, but the strung-out Mr. Clean panics and fires, prompting Lance to fire on the innocent Vietnamese family as well. Chef discovers a puppy among the provisions on the boat. Lance grabs it brutally from Chef and keeps it as a pet. When Chef discovers a young woman alive, Willard murders her ruthlessly to prevent any further delay in his goal. From this point on, tension between Chief and Willard grows as Willard believes he is in command of the PBR while Chief prioritizes other objectives above Willard's covert purpose. Another night passes, and the crew arrives to the mayhem of the Dulong Bridge, which is under attack. Willard learns through a courier that Captain Colby, the missing commanding officer, was sent on an earlier expedition to murder Kurtz. Willard also sees the war's lost side, burned out, stone men fighting a losing battle to keep the bridge open. The bridge is once again devastated by enemy shellfire as the PBR crew departs. Lance and Chef are both always high on narcotics. Lance, in particular, spreads camouflage paint on his face and withdraws. The boat is attacked the next day by an unidentified opponent in the trees, killing Mr. Clean and making Chief even more resentful toward Willard. Another day or two later, the PBR is assaulted again, this time by Montagnard warriors as they cross the border into Cambodia. Despite Willard's protests that the arrows shot on them aren't dangerous, they return fire. Before dying, Chief is pierced with a spear and tries to kill Willard by pulling him onto the spearhead. Following that, Willard tells the two remaining crew members, Chef and Lance, about the mission, and they grudgingly agree to continue upriver, where they discover the banks filled with mutilated carcasses. Willard finally arrives at Kurtz's outpost and takes Lance to the village, leaving Chef behind with orders to launch an attack on the settlement if they do not return. In the camp, the soldiers are greeted by an American freelance photographer who extols Kurtz's brilliance. Willard and Lance see corpses and severed heads scattered over the temple that serves as Kurtz's living quarters as they travel and come across Colby, who appears to be catatonic. Willard is chained and brought before Kurtz in the dim temple, where he is mocked as an errand kid. Meanwhile, Chef is about to order an airstrike when he is kidnapped. Willard sobs hopelessly later in prison as Kurtz dumps Chef's severed head into his lap. Willard is eventually released and given full access to the compound. In another speech scene, the shadowy Kurtz lectures him on his beliefs of war, humanity, and civilization while applauding the Viet Cong's ruthlessness and dedication. Kurtz had hit rock bottom a few years ago when he led a campaign to vaccinate the children of a tiny community against polio. Soon after completing that job, Kurtz's squad was summoned by one of the villagers, where he discovered that the Viet Cong had arrived and chopped off every child's arm who had received the vaccine. Kurtz has twisted admiration for the Viet Cong's violent dedication and determination to obstruct his unit's efforts to assist the locals. Kurtz believed that if he had a vast legion of men willing to go to such lengths, he might finish the war. Kurtz addresses his son near the conclusion of their time together and requests that Willard tell his son everything about him in the event of his death. That night, while the villagers are slaughtering a water buffalo, Willard enters Kurtz's chamber and attacks him with a machete while he is making a tape recording. Kurtz, who is gravely wounded on the ground, says his final words, the horror, before dying. Willard sees a large typed work of Kurtz's writings, scrawled with "Drop the bomb, exterminate them all," and takes it with him before fleeing. Willard walks down the stairs from Kurtz's chamber, dropping his weapon. The locals do the same, allowing Willard to grab Lance by the hand and guide him to the boat. As the army tries to reach them on the shortwave radio, the two of them ride downstream in the PBR in search of aid and safety. Willard switches the radio off. The last words of Kurtz's the horror, resonate in Willard's mind as he takes the boat away into the night jungle in the pouring rain. And that is the end of this movie. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for daily updates of movie recaps like this. Comment what movie you want next. Thanks for watching.